Okay, next step is I have to put this Ditra down. This Ditra is a uncoupling membrane, which means that when you put it on the floor, you put the tile over it, it can prevent some cracking of the tiles, and it also provides waterproofing because it's plastic and water can't get through it. So both great things. I put down self-leveler a while ago, but I stopped it back here. So before it got to this area here, and this is right against the tub, there's a couple spots there where I could see someone stepping and maybe the tile would crack here because there's a little bit of a groove down here. And so what I'm going to do is I put down this sort of compressive, I'm not sure what this is called. It's like a sill plate divider thing. And I put this down so that when I use this stuff, feather finish, I can squeeze it in all along here, and I'll still have a little bit of gap between the feather finish and the actual tub. It's good to have that little bit of gap there because the tub is metal and it can flex and move around more than the concrete here. And that can cause cracks and cause problems. So yeah, I'll put that in there and get this area nice and flush with the rest. And then I'll be ready to put down the Ditra, and then next is the floor tile. The cuts have been made. I've dry fitted everything. The next step is to pull it up, mix the thin set underneath, and notch it on, and then apply the Ditra for real.
Now, when you're putting down the Ditra, I really cannot stress enough that the flatter the floor is prior to putting down the Ditra, the easier the job will go. You can see I wet down the self-leveled cement before putting on the thin set. This prevents the thin set from drying out too quickly and potentially skimming over while you're trying to lay the Ditra. You want to use the specific trowel size that Schluter recommends. It's a very small V-notch trowel, or you could pay way too much for the trowel Schluter sells. Once you've got the Ditra down, you can prevent air bubbles from getting trapped underneath it by using a wood float to press down on the Ditra, starting from the middle outward, or you can pay way too much for a special roller that Schluter sells that does the same. Immediately after pressing the Ditra down, you want to lift an edge to check it for coverage, which I know is annoying because then you have to re-notch the thin set and relay that section of Ditra and re-press it out with the float. But it is so much better to find out then that your Ditra is not adhered properly than finding out 6 months from now when a tile cracks. Assuming the coverage is good and you've pressed out all the Ditra, you will need to use Schluter's Curdy band to waterproof the seams between the Ditra sheets, as well as where the Ditra meets the wall edges. Assuming you've already set up your tile layout pattern, it's finally time to tile. Most tilers recommend starting from the middle of the floor, but since this is such a small bathroom, I started from the places where there was the most Curdy band built up, like the upper corner here where the tub and the wall meet, since I knew those areas would be ever so slightly higher than the rest of the floor, and it's always easier to use the tile leveling wedges to bring lower tiles up to meet higher tiles than vice versa. One of the best videos I've ever seen about laying tile and how to trowel properly, I'll link it right here. It's called Trowel and Air. I highly recommend it to anyone that's just getting started with tiling, or even some people experienced with it as a refresher. I use 3/16 inch spacers with the tile wedges, which creates a pretty large grout joint. It also gives me some much needed mercy, since having 4 tiles meet in a corner requires much more precision than if I had staggered the tiles. Now, keep a bucket of water and clean everything as you go. It's way easier to clean thin set as you're going along than to come back and do it once it's partially dried. Now, this is the most therapeutic part when you get to knock off the wedges. I typically do this after about 24 hours. Don't wait much longer than that, as the thin set cures to the point where you can't clean it out if you need to. Here's what the floor looks like with all the wedges removed, but before the grouting. And here's what it looks like after the grouting, including the door threshold. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. It's nice and flat. Everything looks great. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Like and subscribe if I've helped you out at all. Thanks for watching.